We got Bobby Green here. He is also known as BobJr in our league. He is the commish of Hard Knocks online franchise, and definitely like to welcome you to the podcast.
Well, I appreciate the invite.
Well, we're gonna jump right into it. For those who are new to the channel, just give us a little background about how Hard Knocks got started.
Well, crazy enough, there's probably I would say 4 or 5 guys that I played with in another league, and we ended up doing all the work. Everybody that's in Hard Knocks now was in that league. So, Cade, M.Frisk, MG, GTG, those guys were over there in another league, and I was a commissioner over there, and pretty much everything was on my plate. I pushed a lot of content then, and then I got to know Marcus or M.Frisk real well, and he was like, come over to TSO, which is Tradition Sports Online. And I went over there and saw how they did the NCAA leagues, got in a bunch of those leagues. And I was like, yo, Marcus, we can do a Madden league. And he's like, yeah, because we put in a lot of time into Madden 10. And Madden 12 rolled around, and we're like, we can do this. So we jumped right in and started doing it. And initially, I had talked to Drifter or Ronnie and Sean Mason, who's also in Hard Knocks. And they were like, let's get a base of 16 guys, and then we'll go from there. Well, we ended up having 24 guys, and then it just grew to the full amount within a few weeks after the Madden released.
Wow.
And so we just ran with it and went from there.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. I'm also kind of the same background. It's, starting off at TSO. For me, it started off with NCAA, and, around when Madden got on to, Xbox 360, I was on the Xbox side for a while. So, back then, that was all we knew. We had to start our own leagues, and it was a little more difficult then because, franchise mode wasn't as, robust as it is now. You had to, I remember the first time I was a commish, you had to kind of do free agency on your own as far as what guys' salary should have been and, stuff like that. So it was a little more difficult at that time, but you still kind of see the same people that you did 4 or 5 years ago, which is, a great sign and a, kind of a testament to, Tradition Sports, which was the home, first real home for a lot of us gamers. And, especially at Hard Knocks, I'm getting the sense that, there's a lot of guys that, even from the beginning are still around. And, that just kind of shows you that it's become a big community for a lot of us. We, even more than gaming, we get to know each other on the personal level. And, even after Madden is, we stopped playing Madden for a while and kind of have the downtime before the new release. Everybody's still kind of talking to each other, chatting with each other. And, I think that's kind of one of the best parts of Hard Knocks. So, it's pretty cool that you guys kind of started from humble beginnings, so to speak. And, now it's, been a strong league that's been going on for several years. We have guys from, kind of all different walks of life. We got guys from early 20s to 40s. I'm not going to put the actual value out there to save some guys, but we have guys that were playing in Alaska all the way to Egypt. Shout out to Zikri. And then we got some of the guys that claim to be former elite athletes running 4.4s. You know what I'm saying? but my next question is, what, in your opinion, what has been, the key to Hard Knocks being such a strong league that's kind of lasted, several years?
I think overall, we've taken the initial, well, like you said, you initially had Madden, which was you had to build your salary cap with 10, 8, 6, and 4 to make it easy for people to understand. You had to build free agency yourself. You had to do all that yourself. So you just started bonding with guys who wanted to do that, wanted to put in that work because they wanted to play Madden. And from there, you kind of mold it into this, like, I almost look at it as like literally like the Hard Knocks chat is a locker room almost. It's we get mad with each other sometimes, but then we're fine, and we mess with each other or joke around with each other. But then, like, at the end of the day, we'll do anything for anybody. And I think ultimately that's the best thing about the league, is how we molded it into this like locker room brotherhood. I wouldn't say fraternity, but it's like a little brotherhood of just 32 to almost 40 guys that just talk and chat and give each other all kinds of hell. And then, at the end of the day, we would probably do anything for anybody.
Yeah, I think of it this way, in the time that I've been in Hard Knocks, or, just going back to just TSO in general, we've now known the same guys for, 5-6 years. I can't remember when I started on TSO, but, you've seen guys kind of go from, different major life events, guys getting married, having kids, new jobs, finishing school, things like that. And
absolutely.
And that's the way, like you say, it's a locker room. So, everybody kind of gets an idea of what everybody's going through in life, and we might, chat about just the football season, as the season is going on, whether it's NFL, NCAA, kind of that smack talk. Everybody's a fan of a different team. So, whenever, everybody's favorite team is matching up, you kind of have that smack talk going on. And, we might be talking politics, as, risque as that can be sometimes.
I don't know, man. The big one is religion. That one's pretty risque too.
Yeah, that too. But even with that, I think the chat kind of keeps things light. And at the end of the day, even when emotions are riding high, in the and during the competition of things, the competitive nature of the league, I think the chat at the end of the day, whether it's just somebody saying something silly or whatever, it kind of loosens things up. And major blowups that might have happened if you were just strictly back in the day, when you're just strictly in the forums, and people just they start typing, and and all hell breaks loose. And the chat kind of keeps things, just everything rolling in real time, and people can just give their own commentary. Somebody might go off the rails and say something, but at the end of the day, by the time they're done, it's kind of water under the bridge, and everything's pretty cool. It's definitely been a nice evolution, from kind of the old school days of only really typing a post here and there, and then not really going back or having too much interaction every few days, I guess. But in the chat, guys, I mean, we're talking every day, and I don't talk to some of my best friends every day, so that's kind of the interesting part about Hard Knocks, and the community that we've kind of developed through playing Madden. So
it's pretty crazy too, because like guys that leave for a while will come back, and it's like, oh, they never left,
right?
And even not even like Marcus, but like other guys that have left for a while, and then they come back. It's just crazy how it's just like home. It's just coming back and talking like you're at home.
Right. It's definitely a compliment to what you've built, along with the other guys that were responsible with getting things started. So, but I know, like, from my experiences of being a commish, it's very difficult because while as we've already discussed, while you have a community of guys that have gotten to know each other, we're also highly competitive individuals. Whether maybe that's stemming from us, a lot of us coming from the sports backgrounds, and starting off being competitive in that arena and, going on to video games where, everybody wants to be the best. So, we're playing for fun, but, once you get into it, I mean, there's got to be a reason why we're all still playing after several years, playing into our 30s and 40s, still coming back to Madden because it's like those competitive juices get flowing and, you just the emotions ride high after losses and things like that. But yeah, I mean, being a commish, especially of a 32 team, 32 user league, is highly difficult. Much tougher than what it was when we were doing NCAA leagues. It was 12 guys, and you can pretty much you have your CPU games and a few user games, but other than that, you kind of NCAA leagues kind of ran themselves. You didn't have too much to oversee, but with Madden, it's a lot tougher. What do you think is like the toughest part for you of being a commish of a league?
I think the toughest part is probably deciphering the truth when people get mad at each other, because you never know exactly what happens. No matter what technology is done with Twitch and everything else, we really don't have an idea of what happens or why somebody does something. So that's probably the hardest part. A close second would be, and I'm not even kidding you, but a close second would be scheduling anything. There's so many people that can't make this or can't do that, which is fine because everybody's busy, that we literally have to make the day, and if you can't make it, then I'm sorry, you can't make it. Because at the end of the day, we have to keep everything moving, flowing in one direction, or it all goes to crap. So I think, with that being said, like the hardest thing is definitely deciphering when somebody argues with somebody or when somebody gets mad at somebody because of the competitiveness. I think that's the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the second hardest thing would probably be like just scheduling the draft, scheduling free agency, scheduling the start of the season, scheduling the start of the Madden season, scheduling just I gotta make sure that we can all move in one direction, or we end up like I feel like if we lose a day when we schedule, or we lose time when we schedule, then we lose a little bit of the fire that people have to play the game. So that's why I always keep it in a flow.
Yeah, and I think, now that we have stuff like, the remote play, that definitely is going to help with stuff like the draft. Because, sometimes it's just hard to either sit and get in front of the TV. Some guys are sharing the TV with people, or, your PlayStation is hooked up to the TV that your wife is watching something.
Yeah, let's be honest. Half of us get the look when we say we have a Madden draft.
So I think, now that we're kind of advancing technology-wise, that's definitely going to help. But, I mean, as you said, you got to keep the league moving. And with 32 guys, you can't make everybody happy. You can't come with the perfect scenario where everybody's going to be available. And, you kind of have to sometimes take a hard stance and stick with that decision. And you might catch some flack, but, what what commissioner can really say, whether it's a Madden league or, in real life, a pro league, what commissioner can really say they've made everybody happy? It's just gonna, you're going to rub somebody the wrong way along the lines. So I definitely understand what you're saying. And, those years that you have been a commish, what are the things that you've had to kind of adjust as far as your leadership style, or decisions that you have to make? There's anything that you've really really found out, I got to do this differently than I've done before?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I think it's from when I started to now, I used to be the bad guy. Like, I'd be like, okay, you messed up, you're gone. I would never give second chances. And I think over the years of doing it, I've been like, okay, you know what? I can understand things happen. Let's try this a different way. Let's give this guy another chance, or something like that. I think, and it may just be me getting older that I just care a little bit more about people. I don't know. I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but
or maybe it's just the fact that, as we discussed, we've known these guys for a long time now, and it's a lot different. You have a lot more patience with people that you have grown to know and develop friendships and relationships with, as opposed to, you have a guy that is fresh in the league and, might be doing something annoying, and you just say, well, I don't have, I'm not really invested in, in this person. So, it doesn't matter if he's gone. So I would probably say, just from hearing your answer, I could probably say that you could probably attribute that to just getting to know people for a longer period of time. I think it's just natural, you're just going to be, I wouldn't say softer, but, just more patient. You just kind of realize, well, is this really as big of a deal as, I initially thought? And you get the time to think about it a little bit. And, you have guys that you can kind of confer with and get their stance on it, on issues. And, you kind of realize, well, we can move past it. And, I guess that's the reason why, I haven't looked at like the official roster list, but I would say probably at least 20, 25 people are returning from last year. So, you have that benefit of keeping the league, the core group around every year, because, we're not, we're not all perfect. Everybody has their moments where they might, unintentionally cross a line or anything like that. But, you have some leagues that, whether it's just personalities clashing or, just league politics, they'll get rid of a guy in a heartbeat and, just throws things off. So, you kind of have to, as a commissioner, you kind of have to weigh those factors in your decision making, because you just, you don't want to screw up the whole vibe of the league, because, once you have a few people that, really have turned, things have turned sour, it just, it can cause a league to implode. So, you've definitely done a good job of, I know definitely you've had some, circumstances where it's difficult. You really have to sit down and say, okay, what do I really do here? What's the right thing to do? And, Hard Knocks is just going strong, and it's thanks to you being a, great commish. I guess you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't still be commish if, you guys didn't respect you, in that capacity.
Like, this is what they would consider the age of content. That's all I've heard. Every time I go somewhere or do something within the community, it's the age of content. So I feel like everything is going to, like, in my opinion, I don't want to read much content anymore. It just takes, it's just not quick. The attention span's not there. I like to see video or different kinds of multimedia where it's quick, and I think that's the direction that Hard Knocks needs to go. Like, we need to be doing things like the podcast. We need to be doing things like the plays of the week, things like that people grab onto, and they're like, oh, did you see that? Did you see that in week 5? Or did you see what happened here? Or, did you watch? I mean, I know for a fact that this league watches a ton of each other's games.
No doubt.
And I think that's huge. Like, I think it's awesome that I can lay on my bed and there's 3 or 4 games going on, and I can just watch them. I'm not even watching TV. I'm watching my phone or watching the computer, and I'm watching Twitch. And I think that's the direction. I think
Yeah,
We have.
my wife gives me side eye sometimes because I have my, we'll be watching something in the living room, but I still have my phone out, watching the Twitch. She's like, "What are you watching?" And I'm like, a league game," and she just be shaking her head like, this is just another world. But I mean, that's the cool part of just how things have grown, as far as Twitch being compatible with PS4 and being able to broadcast everything easily. Because before you had to have this like multi-rig setup where you have to have multiple programs running just to stream your game. So just the fact that our league, every game is streamed. You're able to see how everybody's playing. It's like it gives you the ability to kind of scout guys. It's just things like that. It's just pretty cool. So I definitely understand how you feel like it videos nowadays capture attention. You have all these YouTube channels and stuff like that. But one thing about online franchises is that not only do you enjoy the fact that your league mates are watching your games, you kind of want that extra bit of audience. You want people to follow the league as if it's an actual league. It's an actual. I mean, we'll never say we're going to be competing with the NFL or anything, but just now that we're able to just open YouTube or whatever, Twitch, and just easily see what's going on. Hard Knocks being a league where guys have been around for so long, it's like we can have that audience where people are tuning in to see. Okay, well, let's see what Mo Griff Jr. is doing, or let's see what Big Tub is doing.
Teaser.
Let's see what Right Tie is doing. Like, and having that audience that can say, "Whoa, I know how these guys play. This matchup is an intriguing matchup. Let me tune into that." And that that's the type of thing that definitely can take Hard Knocks to the next level. As you mentioned, podcasts. Getting to know the people in the league, because it's easy to just have guys attached to their usernames, but it's pretty cool to just kind of see how guys interact, or just getting the personalities but not behind the names. And I kind of feel like there's no real kind of whether it's a channel or just a outlet where you can find that for CFMs. I mean, there's definitely guys that stream their games a lot, and doing some cool things like doing red zone channels for the Twitch streams or what have you. But there's no real league that you can kind of follow along easily, beyond just looking at stats, seeing the gameplay, seeing highlights, seeing stuff like that. So for me, with starting with this podcast, and hopefully as the when the league starts back up, when Madden 17 is released, I definitely hope that our channel can be something that people are kind of itching to tune in and see what we're doing, and gets people to pay attention to who's streaming, and keep coming back to watch, because that's, for me, it's almost my favorite part of the league, is just being able to kind of watch a game every day, and just tune in, and it's pretty captivating. Even when it's has nothing to do with my roster standing or anything like that. I just like watching watching everybody in the league play. It's fun. It's you get to talk to the guys while games are happening. It's like almost like we're all in the stands together, just giving our own play-by-play of what's going on. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think you've mentioned in chat, something about kind of having a league night. Can you explain what your idea for that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes along the idea of the audience. I think it would be awesome for us to pick one night a week. I say Wednesday because it's probably the easiest, most boring night of the week. But so we pick a time slot Wednesday from like, I don't know, 9 to midnight, and we have so many games for that advance going on because we advance on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So if we have our Tuesday advance and most everybody's playing on that Wednesday night, then I just think the audience will just grow from there. And as long as we're, tweeting this out and tweeting out that we have league night and doing the team Twitters and things like that, then we can gain even more audience and more people watching that are just whoever knows in today's internet who would be watching, but some random person could be watching but could be really enjoying the league, just being a bystander. So I think that's important to like you said, build that audience. And that when I was taking league night, just picking the night a week and playing most of our games for that advance that night, and then that just builds on the locker room camaraderie, all that stuff too.
No doubt. So not only are you the league commish, but you're also part of the EA Game Changers crew. I think for a few years now, right?
Yes, this will be my third cycle, so third year in or fourth year in, somewhere around there.
Okay, so how's that experience been?
It's been a blessing. It's really cool, to play the game and give the feedback, and then to see that the stuff you're giving feedback on is being worked into. Is you go there once early in development and you give feedback, and then it's like you come back towards the end and you're like, oh wow, they did listen to me. It makes you feel like you're putting your imprint on the game. And I mean, for me, that's the best part. Besides meeting all the other game changers and hanging out with them, and like it's just like Hard Knocks. When you go, you have that brotherhood that you would do anything for these guys, but you actually get to meet these guys. So that's the one thing that Hard Knocks that's different, but it's the same like ideology in between them. It's a brotherhood, and yeah, you talk trash and you do this, but at the end of the day, you do anything for them.
No doubt, and I think the great thing about you guys as game changers is that a lot of you. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys as part of game changers that are more focused on the MUT side of things, but there's a lot of guys that are really strong supporters of sim football. More than sim rules that a lot of online leagues have, but the actual gameplay being something that simulates what we see on Sundays. And I think that having guys like you that run leagues and get to see plenty of games and played plenty of games yourself, having guys like you being part of Game Changers has made the game a lot better, and a lot more fun to play than it has been in the past, because it's always going to have its quirks, but before there was just so many exploits where people would just you could do the same thing over and over, and there's just absolutely no way that you can counter it. And I think it's kind of taking that turn where now you can kind of it turns into a more of a chess match, as opposed to just doing the same thing to death, and you just on the other end you have nothing you can do about it. So definitely hats off to you and the rest of the game changers, just kind of being the voice for a lot of us gamers that just want to see Madden keep improving, and being the game that we all know that is capable of. And especially now that they have a lot of people, as far as the developers, that have come in and share that same kind of hope and desire as far as what the vision for the game. So that's been pretty good. And you've had the chance to play quite a bit of Madden 17 during its development. So what's your well? First of all, do you feel like it's shaping up to be one of the best Maddens yet?
In my opinion, it's let's see. I enjoyed Madden 25 a lot, and I thought that was the best Madden. On the Madden 25 on all generations, so the PS3, 360, I thought that game was awesome. So I think this one is light years ahead of that one. I think it plays fluid. I think some of the stuff they've done with the AI and especially the defensive AI is just going to floor some guys. And if you don't understand certain things about defense, it's going to be a hard few months getting into it. I wouldn't say a hard release because you'll catch on, but a hard few months getting into it. So if you don't understand zone defenses, it's going to be a little bit difficult at first, but just hang in there and it's definitely worth it. So with the defensive AI, with some of the small, subtle franchise changes that we've been asking for that have been implemented, it's by far going to be the best Madden.
Yeah, and they've already given a lot of information as far as the new features in the game. But I'd definitely like to know what new feature that you're most excited about.
Ironically, I'm kind of we're all nerds because we play this, but I love the GM aspect of franchise mode. So, and I've been screaming for years for a practice squad. I'm just going to be honest. And I know that's such a small little section of franchise mode, but I think between that and then the big decisions that they have, those two things are going to help not only build your team and build depth, but it's going to add some character to the league. Because if you know how an NFL practice squad works is, you have 10 guys, and if you don't sign them to the 53-man roster or your active roster, they're able to be picked by anybody in the league. So there's going to be no more guys just hiding guys around. You're going to have to put certain guys on practice squad because you don't have room, and then those guys are going to be picked by other guys. And so, it's going to be a lot of moving parts. So I think, to me, it's the smallest thing, but it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. I kind of have to agree with you, especially with the big decisions. I know we've had the conversation just as far as like that wish list of what, we'd like to see in Madden. And big thing for me is, things like injuries. Either you have guys that try to come back a week early, or, you have to make that, real life, they have to make that tough decision on whether or not to activate somebody for that game, knowing that there's a risk that they can re-injure themselves and, put themselves out for an extended period of time. But, when you have a big game, sometimes you wish you could have, in previous Maddens, whatever their injury duration was, like, you had no choice but to just wait until that was up.
Mm-hmm.
But, from the sound of things, with this big decision, you might have some instances where, a guy's injury, the game might say they're out for a certain period of time, but they might get cleared a little early, like a week early. And you have to make that decision of whether or not I should start him or, just sit him for another week to rest him.
They literally took in the NFL, the Tony Romo model, where he got hurt, he came back, but he probably came back a little too early because the Cowboys needed him, and got hurt again. They've kind of taken that model and put this in the game. So you're going to have that, like you said, you're going to have that decision. Like, if you have a big division game and you need it, you're not going to be able, anybody's going to put their starter in, no matter if he's, losing attributes or whatever. They're going to have to put that starter in. So it adds a little risk reward, a little bit of, it's going to be cool.
Yeah, and then you also have that, kind of gamesmanship where, you got to make sure we all know the type of players everybody kind of likes to have on their team. So, as you said, you can't really hide guys anymore. You can't really say, oh, this guy is kind of a sleeper, so I'll sign him in free agency or sign him on waivers. We're gonna have guys that put some guys that they think they can develop and put them on practice squad and think that they can bide some time and uh, you know maybe put them in there or put them in the main roster the next season, but and I think guys are going to be lurking, watching rosters, seeing, the roster movement. So yeah, that sounds pretty, sounds like it's going to bring another element to the league. Because, sometimes it can be pretty, yeah, as far as player movement and everything, be pretty boring outside of your, trades here and there. But as far as the, in season signings that may happen or just week to week roster movement, I think that'll definitely make things a lot more interesting. Um, and I think that's, a lot of us, that's what we want. We want the team building aspect to be uh, just more in depth, being able to do more outside of just playing your games every week and doing your scouting. Like you kind of wanted to make, one of the things that makes OOTP popular is just the team building aspect and having being able to put your stamp on how your team looks and you can definitely do that. We've definitely been able to do that in Madden, but I think it's just being able to do more, being able to do like every single aspect of what it takes to build yourself a contender, develop players, everything like that. Um, so I definitely would say that's definitely a great feature that they've added. Um, but while they have added a lot of things, like what would top your list as far as a feature that Madden is lacking that you just desperately want to see them put in the game?
Oh, I don't know when this is coming. I don't know if it's ever coming, but I've always thought to myself that the scouting and the draft, I mean, if we're talking franchise mode, the scouting and the draft, it to me, it needs to be reworked. Um, I know they're under the gun on a lot of things, but I think scouting, if they took recruitment from NCAA or recruiting from NCAA and somehow formed it into Madden scouting, I even think that would work better than kind of what we might have now, which what we have now is better than what we've had in years past. To me, ultimately, the drafts, the draft and the scouting and would be on the franchise side of things. And then, on gameplay, I would, it's tough to say because they've done so much. I would probably just think continued work on the O-line. I would love to see, like, you be able to audible, adjustments for your offensive lineman because the center does it in the NFL quite a bit. So, or calls for protections, and not just the four main protections, but like, okay, well, you can do this guy can double team this guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think stuff like that is lacking. Like the guard tackle double teams the end because there's no blitz coming, things like that. But it's all moving in that direction. We just got to get there.
Yeah, going back to scouting and everything. For me, one thing that I think it really needs is it's hard to really have that kind of variability team to team as far as the quality of scouting. Um, there's not a lot of ways for guys to kind of draft a bust because we all see the same information. And I feel like in real life, not every scouting department for a team is great. A lot of times, whether, you got teams like Cleveland who can't draft a quarterback for their life. And, I wish the game had that kind of, feature where depending on who you have on your staff, you might, whether it's like rating the grades that you get for the ratings or whatever, it might be a little inaccurate. So when you get down to the draft, you really, you draft a guy high thinking, oh, this guy is legit. He's the real deal. But your scout isn't, a great scout, or, depending on the position, they're not, as good as they are for other positions that you have the potential or higher potential of drafting a bust, or a guy, not even a bust, but a guy that ends up not being to the level that you expected. And I think that, right now, as it is, how, how the drafts are, it's like you have a pretty good idea. It's like, if we all have done these, these drafts, plenty of drafts, dozens of times. And, we kind of know, okay, this is what we need to look for. If the guy has these attributes, they're going to be legit. And it shouldn't be that easy. Plain and simple. It shouldn't be that easy. That's going to make, that would make the draft a lot more interesting, especially, when you're recapping a draft and looking at, what every team did. I think it definitely, something that needs to be added. And for me, and I know for me, I speak for a lot of people, you don't get these damn defensive assignments in the game, I'm going to lose my mind. Because that's the major thing about defense is matchups, and being able to put your top guy at cornerback on their top wide receiver and just follow him wherever he's lined up on the field. He's going to be lined up across from him. Or, if you got guys, if you have a guy that is, going to be strong on defending a tight end, that you can say, well, depending on the play, that he's going to line up in position that he can defend him, and give him that look like, okay, well, I know Gronk is, lined up across, let's say Earl Thomas or something like that. And he's going to, where if Gronk is lined up, whether it's split out, or, whatever, maybe he might be lined up at wide receivers, in some formations, that he'll have the right guy lined up on him so that you can align your defense in the best way to defend any play. And, that kind of limit, as it is right now, it limits you, because you can't really, we have no way of knowing what, their formation is. We know what their personnel package is, but we don't know, where guys are going to be lined up. And, I think that makes it a lot difficult to play defense, because sometimes you might have a guy that you just don't expect to be lined up in slot. Like, let's say, I'll use, a guy that I'll have this year, Julio Jones. Now, let's say I put Julio Jones in, in inside slot. And if somebody's playing man-to-man defense, that's going to be their fourth best cornerback on him most of the time, unless they kind of anticipate it and, do a formation sub. But, if you can imagine man-to-man with your fourth best cornerback on Julio Jones, it's like there's nothing you can do. You can, try to help as far as like a user linebacker or something, but more often than not, Julio is going to destroy a fourth cornerback. And that's always a frustrating thing for guys playing defense, is that we want more control over how we can kind of play that chess match on defense. Because on offense, you have the advantage. You can line your guys up any which way, and, you can set things up, and you can kind of figure out what, most of the time kind of figure out what the defense is, whether it's zone or man coverage or anything like that. But on defense, you're just kind of at the mercy. You just got to hope that you guessed right, and, you anticipated the right play. And them defensive assignments are, we just need them.
You brought up a good point with that. And then what I would like is, like, we see the formation, But I would love the play art that we used to have where it would show what number was in what position.
Uh-huh.
So at least if they couldn't do defensive assignments for some reason, we would be able to combat that on our own. You know, like say I'm playing you and I see Julio in the slot, well then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna right stick over and put my number one corner over there. But we really have no way of knowing.
Yeah, so just as a game changer, keep getting. I know you guys are probably telling them this every time you go down there and meet with them, but man, if we can get that in the game, I'll be a happy man.
let's just put it this way: at this point, they go ahead and write what's missing sometimes, or they'll make comments that, okay, you know, it's so we know this is coming out, so you guys don't have to say this. Like, this isn't happening, so don't even put it down. So, I mean, they definitely know. We try to feed it to them, but, you know, we just keep fighting.
Yep, no doubt. Well, I think that'll wrap things up. Definitely ended up talking longer than I expected, but I mean, I guess that's definitely a good thing because, you know, this is something that, you know, we're both passionate about. Love this league. So definitely excited about the release of Madden. I think we have 20 some days before it comes out. I know you're getting it early, so definitely jealous. But I definitely know everybody's excited about this upcoming release. Definitely think we're gonna have a super competitive league this year, and it's gonna be fun to follow. So definitely want to thank you for joining me. You know, let people get to know who's running the show. So
absolutely,
thanks a lot, Bob. Really appreciate it.
Oh man, anytime. I'll come on anytime and talk with you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So that'll wrap things up, and we'll definitely do more of these in the future when the game releases, or maybe even have some previews of the rosters and, you know, top positional units and things of that nature. So definitely stay tuned for that. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. If you enjoyed the vid, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.